So you're in Florida. I'm in Kansas City. It's nice to meet you. You got a lot going on in your life.
Well, yeah, I mean, you only live once, so you might as well make it count, right?
Do it up. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
it, I mean, my whole life has been trying to find why I'm here.
yeah, I think that's kind of the cornerstone of our lives for sure.
Mm,
So let's find out why you are here. And to begin
okay.
that journey, I want to start with my first question here. We're going to hit the ground running. 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out how this pandemic was going to pan out and how it was going to affect us and how long it was going to go. And now that we're in the quote unquote post pandemic era, how did you survive it and how did it change you?
Ah, well, that's a long story, but I will try to make it beneficial for my listeners.
Okay.
At the time, I had maximum PTSD triggers as a former public high school teacher, and this was in 2015. So my admin took me into the office, which happens with all teachers, and he said, "I know what your problem is. You have PTSD." And I thought I went to counseling for that. How come? But I truly was like a walking basket case. So I retired and moved down to St. Petersburg, Florida in 2016 to live my dream as a full-time RVer. And I had never done that before. So I thought, I'm going to live the life now. But then I fell down my RV stairs and broke my arm, and all of my savings went into the cast because my insurance wouldn't pay for it. So bloody blah. Anyway, I moved to Texas, but let's fast forward because I need to answer your question. I decided to make a living in 2017 as a yoga instructor. I'm putting myself to back together like Humpty Dumpty. I'm like, oh my God, what can I do? Okay, so I actually found yoga through my broken arm. I went through reconstructive classes in Florida, and the girl was nice enough after my cast came off to let me do some moves as long as I promised not to push myself. So here I am living the dream, yoga instructor, not fat like I am now. So before COVID, I was teaching at three different places in Texas, uh, teaching yoga as a senior citizen to senior citizens who could whoop my ass on the mat. I'm telling you, I had all I could do because I've always been a huffer and a puffer. I inherited that fat gene, so I've been fighting obesity all my life. And I can tell you about the Black Beauties when I was in a rock band if we get to that question.
Yeah.
But anyway, so of course, the first places to close down at the beginning of COVID were the fitness buildings, brick and mortar buildings that had old people like me at it. I hate to say old. That's ageism. Let me retract that
Right.
statement. Older people. So I was instantly without work and spent the next 2 years very sedentary, tried having online classes, but most of the people that I had in my classes at brick and mortar weren't savvy enough to figure out how to find me on YouTube. I'm like, seriously? So anyway, but I've since then found a place. I'm going to put a shameless pitch in for my online teachings on well.burnalong.com and look for the instructor, Debra Cohen. But anyway, thank God I have more than one profession, so I was far from being bored. I actually could live my dream as an indie artist. Yes, find my music online, Debra, Debra Cohen.com. And so I made a lot of singles during COVID and didn't get COVID. And I thought to my husband and I, wow, aren't we the lucky ones? He's got a job at home and I'm at home making music and trying to work out. But I gradually got fatter because I stopped working out, because the only reason I do work out is because I teach it. I'm not self-motivated. I need to be teaching somebody else in order to like it myself. So I made a lot of singles and I was thinking I'll live the dream and I'm making all this music and I'm going to be rich. Until I found out that you have to have like 5,000 streams in order to afford to buy a t-shirt. I'm like, seriously, this is not working. So I created a podcast and, was doing the music thing. Thank God for my husband, or I wouldn't be living this dream. I'd be standing in the bread line. So thank you, my husband, for keeping the boat afloat. Anyway, so then I ended up in the hospital, and I actually, after the COVID peak was sort of going down, where people were safe to go out with, with a mask and stuff, that's when my husband and I got COVID. You're kidding me. I thought, and I'd had 2 COVID shots. So anyway, I had to go through this hospitalization and all this stuff and, bloody, bloody, blah, and survived. And anyway, so now I'm trying to get back in shape. And, I don't like exercising, but how can you not exercise in Florida? It's beautiful in Florida. Well, ask my husband. He won't exercise. He doesn't like it. And so I have started over again because, anybody in the fitness industry knows that after 4 days of not exercising, the muscles atrophy, which means the muscle turns into fat. So here I am. It's called bodybuilding boomers. And the handle is on YouTube at bodybuilding boomers. I am fat. I'm sorry. Oh, they call it size inclusive. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to say. So if you're having a hard time like me trying to get up off the chair and you can't do a squat because you blew your knees, or you just don't have any motivation, come to my classes.
So talk to me a little bit about exactly what you do right now in 2024 for a living. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day because there's a lot of titles you have. And one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Well, I write books, and if you want to know why there's war, you can get my book and read it in your classroom. It's called Jewish Palestine, Arab Palestine, A History of Conflict. And your teacher will help you through the book, and you can decide by reading the book, which is nonfiction. Nonfiction means the book is based on facts and secret documents that were discovered in the UK archives. So it was like a treasure hunt when they found this book full of true stories that you might like to read about if you were a history junkie. But even if you didn't, everybody's talking about it. So why not talk facts instead of propaganda? And if that doesn't float your boat, then I'm going to write another book real soon. And I'll tell you, it's called The Heart That Sings. And it's a singing heart. So stay tuned for that. But I know that all children in the 3rd grade, just like I was once upon a time, I loved my music teacher. And when you learn music, a part of the brain that doesn't get used unless you learn to play an instrument or sing, it doesn't get used. So you walk around as an adult with half a brain. So listen to my music, and you can find the lyrics online, and you can find some fun music because I write in different genres. Genre means style. So I think that we could learn a song right now. No, I'm only joking.
No, that's awesome. So you've had a life as a rock and roller. Talk to me a little bit about how the seeds of loving music, how did this become your life?
Well, it started with the ponytails, and the song was Born Too Late to Have a Chance to Win Your Love. Oh, while, 'cause it's my fate to be born too late. And that's what I used to sing as a teenager because I had a crush on this construction guy that was working on our street when I was a teenager. And my girlfriend Jill and I used to walk by him and giggle because he was built. So that kind of helped me to release my emotions in a family that wasn't really healthy emotionally, like the dysfunctional family 101. But then came the Beatles. Oh, and I was in that era of Beatlemania where the teenagers used to scream when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show. And one of the songs in particular that I heard, Paul McCartney with those droopy puppy dog eyes, he sang, I Will. And I thought he was singing to me as a silly teenager. Who knows how long I've loved you? You know I always will. Will I wait a lonely lifetime? If you want me to, I will. And so I learned the words and sang that song aloud as a teenager and sang it to him in my heart. And I really thought he was going to marry me. And I was so mad when he married Linda. That's the mind of a teenager.
Sure.
So I've always had, like Diana Ross, she sang Love Child. And because I had a messed up childhood, I felt like I was singing about my life. And then Bonnie Raitt came along and she tugged at my heartstrings with all of her bluesy kind of rock. And then I got into drugs and started playing in my own band in Boston in the 80s and opened up for Joan Jett at the favorite place for musicians to play new wave kind of punk. It was called The Rat in Kenmore Square. I loved playing there. And like, but there was just too much lines, they call it, the lines, the cocaine, it was free. I mean, I loved to party with coke, and pot made me a little bit too spaced out. You could do it with your friends if you trusted them, and you'd get weird and spatial. So that's when you would listen to Led Zeppelin, and I'd listen to Heart, and I don't know, who else did I listen to? I guess I was too busy writing my own music, and I actually have a CD on the air. It's you can find it on Spotify, wherever. It's called 80s, and it's by me, Debra Cohen.
So what was the first live concert you saw that blew you away?
I've been asked that question before, and I'm not sure if it was Donovan, believe it or not, the
Yeah.
hurdy-gurdy man, and he sang about saffron. Uh, but followed this local band called the Joneses out of Worcester, Massachusetts, and I had a wicked crush on the D'Angelo brothers, and me and my girlfriend Sherry were consumed with their music locally. So you could call us groupies, but we didn't give candy away. You know what I'm saying? But I like Cyndi Lauper. I really liked her a lot. I didn't spend a lot of time going to other musician music. I really didn't
Yeah.
because I was too busy making my own music.
So in this life of creativity, who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration for you?
Mm, well, Jimi Hendrix was my man. I mean, just he had everything. And Led Zeppelin uh, had the great drummer. John Bonham was the best.
Yeah.
And Bonnie Raitt, the Heart Band, because of the two sisters being fabulous musicians. Chrissy Hind, I loved her. And but then I got into the blues because my life was not going my way. I'm like, man, what's going on? I mean, I thought if I got a nice job, like as a postmaster in 1990 on an island up in Maine, it sounds so wonderful and everything. I started drinking too much. I'm like, man, I'm bored, silly. I'm thinking, because people, I just didn't tour much after Boston. I gave that up because of the drugs, and thought I would try to maneuver getting a day job and then, doing the gigs at night. And I just couldn't. It was I want to do what I love to do and actually get paid for it. And I'm still trying to do that. The only reason I can pursue my music full time for the first time in my life is because I have a husband who is willing to work while I do my thing, like talk to you.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What has been kind of a consistent reason for you to get up every day, to be a creative, to do the work that you do, to produce the material that you produce, and to also evolve as a human being? What is that for you?
You know, I started dreaming music after I quit being a postmaster and I decided I was going to take the plunge and move to Nashville in 94, because that's where they say all the musicians have to go to, get discovered, indie artists. And down there in Nashville is when I started hearing music in my sleep for the first time. And I heard my song, it's called My Tainted Heart. And I'm like, I got up out of bed, got my guitar, wrote down the words because I knew I wouldn't remember them. And I thought, man, I think I remember Paul McCartney saying once that he dreamed a song. Can't remember which one it was, but I thought this is what it is. It's dreaming music. It's like phenomenal. I couldn't think of writing something like that. Although I did write two songs. Well, actually, one song when I was in the New Wave band. I actually was able to write a little bit, but it didn't go anywhere. Anyway, um, so my thing is, it's happened so much. I dream music. I dream it at night. A lot of good songs I've let go by because I was too lazy to get out of bed and record it, because I don't remember it in the morning when I wake up. I put it into my phone. I'll sing it in the middle of the night. And this is the bass line. And I'll wake up in the morning and listen to it. I'm like, wow, that's a good song. I'm going to record that. And so, because I ran out of money paying engineers to record my music, I had to learn another thing during COVID, learn how to record my own music.
Yeah.
And oh, yeah, that's why I write, I got to keep in the limelight by releasing monthly singles instead of waiting and releasing something every year. So, my thing is just listening to music in my sleep and trying to apply because the melody is what comes to me usually. I sit down and listen to the feeling, how I feel when I listen to it, and then I write music depending on what's going on in my life. So really, my music is our discography is is looking inside of my life. It's my journey.
So, of all of the shows you played, was there one that was magical, one that stands out?
Well, there were two actually, two that stand out in my mind, and I mentioned the first one opening up for Joan Jett.
Yeah.
And I can still remember that like it was yesterday. I still remember her black and white sneakers. And it was just such a trip, literally.
Yeah.
But the one that I did at the Straz in Tampa a couple months ago, at the MENA, it's an annual event, MENA, Middle East and North Africa culture get together and share their music and um, artwork, not painting, but, their audio art. And most of because of the Israeli war that's going on now, I was a little bit nervous about who was going to be there, because it's the Middle East. There's going to be Arabs there. And I'm thinking, "Oh, I hope they don't hurt me or yell at me, or I don't know what they're going to do. Fear can really do a number on your brain. But I thought, I cannot be afraid. I need to represent Israel. And I wore an Israeli flag dress and stood in front of them, and the Palestinians with their black and white checkered scarves were sitting in the front row. And here I am I've got pictures of that on my website. And I sang my music and tried to explain that I sing for love. I don't sing for hate. Of course, I sing for Israel because I'm Jewish, but I sing for everybody because it's in Christianity, it's a whosoever will gospel. Anybody, I realize that man-made religions separate people, but really, Abraham was a monotheist. He wanted everybody to come to one God. So everybody has their own idea of who one God is. And unless you've spent personal quality time with them and can, sit down and prove that you sat next to God, then nobody can really prove who he really is or she really is. But we certainly should be able to understand that the God of love is our creator. And so just stood, I sang there. My knees were knocking the whole time. I'm like, I hope I have the strength to get through this because I thought, my God, I'm so scared. But I got through it, and my husband was there rooting for me in the audience. And that made it, I felt like, okay, at least I'm going to have somebody defend me. And, but everybody was well behaved because the guy that Fred, I can't remember his last name, that controlled the show, whatever the word is, he made sure everybody was on their best behavior. And it was really a positive experience. And I hope that the Palestinians in the audience that also performed were able to see a non-threatening view of what a Jew can be.
So at the end of the day, everything that you've done in your life and evolved into at this point, what are you the proudest of?
What am I the proudest of? That's a good question. I think that I am very proud in a non-boasting way of having the courage to pursue healing. My life has been all about, and I think most people get hurt, wounded, we walk around broken, we try to hide it with the facade, and a lot of us shut down. And I know that from having gone through child abuse, sexual abuse from my stepfather, where nobody believes you when you try to have an intervention and they think you made it up just to hurt somebody. And you get thrown out of the family, which I did for trying to have an intervention. But I had the courage to go to a counselor, and the book was called The Courage to Heal. So if anybody listening has gone through sexual abuse and nobody believes you, you have the courage to heal. There are tools out there to pursue healing, and life becomes a journey for the time you're on this planet. From then that point on, when you make the decision to heal, it's a constant transforming experience. And when you stop growing yourself, that's when you become stunted. So I would say I'm proud never to give up on healing. I will be forever, with God's help, trying to be whole, WHOLE, and to help other people that are trying to find the way themselves to get there. It's not a journey of one size fits all. You have to find where you are and what you need as an individual. But I want everybody to know that's listening that you are here for a specific reason, spiritually and physically, and we get lost along the way because this world is full of temptations. I've ended up in the gutter more than once, but I've always found a way, by the grace of God, to pull myself out.
So at the end of the day, Deborah, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, your fans, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I am an indie artist, an author, a yoga instructor, a healer. Uh, I don't know how, I don't know if I have any fans because my genre is so unique. The challenge from my fans, if you want to call them that, is that I believe in transformation, which is a daily thing spiritually. And for example, if I walk into the synagogue and I'm the same person when I leave, then I haven't really given my heart to God who does the transforming. So, as a result of that, I was born a Catholic and I'm now a Jew. And so Catholics are not going to follow me because they don't follow Jews. Christians, which I went through, they're not going to follow me because they think I forsook their Messiah, they call Jesus. And, like a lot of Jews don't accept me because I'm a convert. And so I'm always reaching, trying to get past people's impressions of who I am. I know I'm a child of God, and that's as simple as I can make it. But the problem is when people you get to be around most people, they want you to be like them. And so they become a wet blanket to me. And I understand artists by nature are always creating and they need a lot of time alone to do that. And so I'm a nomadic spirit and I just kind of go every day on the path that God sends me on.
So if anyone out there wants to indulge in any of your creative pursuits, reach out to you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Well, the website Debra, Debra, Cohen, Cohen, music.com. And you can actually join my sign up form, the contact form to get a monthly newsletter, which I'm not like cut in stone, like this is the day the newsletter goes out. It's kind of like whenever I get to it. But if you want to read my book, when you sign up, you can get a free PDF of my book. And that would be a lovely thing to share with anybody that wants to know a little bit more about this Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's going on.
Excellent. This has been wonderful, Deborah. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your time today. Keep doing the good work.
Thank you, Joe. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to
God
meet you.
bless.
Take care.